So now that we have built the header piece, now let's start building the component itself. We want to make sure that we have some input text here. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to build, it's called a container. So this is our bootstrap. So I'm just, you can kind of look at some of the bootstrap components that is available out there, and then kind of go through it if you feel that it's a little overwhelming. It took me a while to kind of understand it, but it's not too difficult. You might have to just spend some time to understand bootstrapping. And then I'm just going to do this here. This is the line break. I just want a line break. So what I'm trying to build is like, you need to input a city. So I'm trying to input a city here. So I'm just going to say input, input type equals text. And then I'm going to do a break. Type equals text, and then I'm just going to break this, and then br, and then I'm just going to do 2 buttons just to get a sense of how it looks. And then I'm just going to say button. Right now I just say get weather. That's the label on it, right? Get weather. So I did that, and then one more. Let's say button. And then I'm just going to say clear. So we want to clear if you entered a bad value for the city. So let's see how this looks before we kind of go further. And also I wanted to change this to, I just want to make this gap maybe. Okay. And let's see how this looks. I don't know if this works. Let's try that first. It didn't like a few things. Let's fix it. So it looks like I fixed it. The line break cannot have a /. So that was that. So you can see I want to enter some input value in the text for the city, and then I want to hit the get weather to call the API, and then it should return saying that what's the weather for that city. Or if I entered a bad value, I should just be able to hit clear and it should clear it up. So this is what front end is all about. We just kind of build the UI and then kind of improve on it. So I'm going to stop this video here, and then I'll come back in the next video for building this out and structuring it better. All right? Talk to you. Bye. So I went and modified or kind of made it a little pretty since last time when we saw the UI. So I went and added this into the CSS file. Since this class is not about CSS, if you have any interest in like learning CSS, you can also look at my code in GitHub, which I would upload this a little later, and then you can take a look at it there. So this was where we were with the HTML. So if I go back in there and look at it now, you can see that it's much more cleaner. So the other thing that I want to kind of start building now is that if I enter instead of London, I have a bad typo. If I hit clear button, it should go and clear this. So that's what I'm going to build now first, and then we can come back to the get weather and build the actual API. So let's come into the app component, and then I need to see, it's already defined this variable for me called title, which came as we built the template. If you don't say if it's a string or a number, it considers it as any. I'm just not going to change that now. The next thing I want to define is a is a variable called city, and I want it to be a string. And probably another one called input city. So this is which is what gets entered into the text box, and I'll call that string. And there's something called binding in Angular. There's like one-way binding, two-way binding, and it's something that you might have to kind of go through Angular to understand it. It's not something that I can finish in one of these classes. So I'm kind of doing a binding on this input city. You will see this a little bit more. So this is where you can get that information as you scroll. It's a decorator, and it's basically binding the input property onto your DOM, onto your HTML. So that's what I've done here. I'm just calling it input. It probably needs a camel case, so I'm just going to do that. Now, let me write a method for this. So when I click the clear button, it should go and clear whatever is there on in the text that I've entered in the text box. So I can probably call it clear status or something, or clear input. I'll just call it clear status because we are kind of checking for the status, which I'll come back later. So I say this input city. So city equals null. So I'm just going to clear it up when I hit the clear button. So that's what we're going to do here. Then I'm going to go into the HTML of app component and then introduce that in here. So this is where what I was talking about, the binding. What I'm trying to do here is the binding on the method. So when I say an action of click, when I click on the button, I'm going to call the method. So I'm going to say clear status. I think that's what it was called, right? So if I go in here, I'm just going to call the method, which will kind of go and make it a null. So we have defined this input city here as a string. It just goes, and when I go and click on it, it's going to make it null. So let's try this out and see if this works. So I'm just going to go in here, click on that, and then new terminal. Let's see what happens. ng serve. Oops, ng serve. So it's kind of going to build that now. Didn't like something. Let's see. Okay, the port is already in use. Let me go and kill the port. So folks, that I basically told you guys that the 4200 port was kind of held up, so I had to go and kill it. So the command that you can use is sudo kill and then -t and 4200. So this is a Linux command. You can kind of Google it and find it. And I just killed that port because sometimes when you have multiple tabs open and you're hitting the same port, you can run into that issue. So that's what I did. And I also kind of went in and kind of changed that to see that I see the caps coming out. And now I can go and enter something. And when I click clear, that's not really clearing. So what's happening here? So we have to introduce what is called the data binding that I'd spoken to you earlier. So what that needs to happen is that for the forms that we are creating, this is called a sandwich bun, like a bun inside so it's like two brackets inside a square bracket. And then you need to introduce this thing called ng model. This is the two-way data binding for any forms that you're creating. And then you need to provide your variable, which is the input city. So which comes from here, right? So let's me go and show you that to have some clarity on it. Nav component TS. So the input city, so the data binding that we have created here. So you need to provide that in your app component.html. So ng model is pretty much what you have. So you can see some documentation here on how to use ng model. So you need to kind of look through this to kind of get some idea of how you want to use this, but it's not too difficult. Like you see that what I'm doing here is that I'm just referencing that ng model and then calling that variable in here, which references this data binding property. So that's pretty much what we have. So when I add this data binding, let's go and try this. I've just compiled it. Let's go back here, just refresh the page. And then I'm just going to type in some value and then just clear. So you see that it starts clearing the screen. So what we did is, just to recap, let's go into the app component.ts. I have this clear status, and I'm saying that this input city equals to null, which means if I enter a bad value, I just have to clear the screen. So I come in here, and if I look at my app component.html in the text box, I have done this data binding with the input city, and then when I click on the clear status method, it goes and puts in null, or clears the screen. So that's what is happening here, just to recap. So if I just go in and type in something else and just hit the clear button, and it should go away. And just to make sure everything is clean in your console. So now, folks, we are coming to the real work where we need to kind of make sure that we can hit this API, and you see that this is response object. We are going to pick a few values from this and show it on the screen. So one of the things that we would probably be looking at is the weather. It could be like the description, like an overcast clouds, and then also probably the city that we are looking for, or the country name. Let's see if there's something that we can look here for. So this is the city. It also has, I can see probably it's name of the country, I think. I mean, this probably is what we're kind of looking at. So we can kind of grab whatever data we want and display it on the screen. And that's what we're going to do in the coming section, which is the core of this project that we're trying to demo. So let's catch up in the next video.